Welcome back to True Prayer for Life. I'm your host, Christina Vera.
And I'm your co-host, Maylin Sambois.
Welcome back. We are so excited to be looking at 2025.
Yes.
We have a lot of exciting things happening.
A lot.
We have a lot of things we have to wrap up.
Yes.
Maylin knows what I'm talking about.
I do. She's on my to-do list.
It's a to-do list. So every year around this time, we start to think about, just kind of reflection of like what went well, what didn't go well, projects we may have put off just because of timing and or resources. And so I've been looking at our stuff for probably about a month now, like just kind of going through like old folders, cleaning out stuff, and found a few projects that we were pretty much on the cusp of being done with anyway. We just get busy and it's like, okay, we'll circle back to it. And then it's like, oh, wait, we haven't circled back to this in like 3 years. And so really excited. Maylin and I have been working on a manuscript for, I want to say about 4 years now, off and on.
Yeah.
Like when I look back at our original notes, it was about 4 years ago that we started kind of jotting down a lot of our kind of like tips and our journey and business and our personal kind of development, and started to kind of think about like, what could this look like in terms of being able to take what we've learned personally and professionally and put it in a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself, if you've ever written a book, shout out to you. If you have multiple books, shout out to you. If you've ever thought about writing a book, it's not an easy process. It's more of like just a discipline that you have to be able to say, like, I'm going to really sit down and I'm going to really crank this out. Or if you're like us, you just do a little bit and it's taking you 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, with the timing, I think the time. And it is not that it's difficult. I think it is, like you said, it's discipline. I mean, it's pretty much done. So it's just finalizing those pieces. But then other things come before, right? Like we will launch a whole center. So
Yes.
there's like, I had a whole child. I mean, there's things that have happened that have, put that. But I think our biggest thing with this book is, what is our message to those people that are in our place or when, starting out or where we were 10, 15 years ago? And how can they, hopefully, with our manuscript, our book, have an easier way of navigating those struggles? Because we're going to share some tools that we came along, right? That how we known then, we will have been so much further along in the journey, right? So we're hoping, because some people say, this is one of the things that I hate the most when people say, well, you got to pay your dues. And you just got to, and I'm like, no. Like, if you already know, and you know that what you know could help somebody, sharing it is a really great thing. Now, they do it or not, it's up to them, but at least you did your part. So for us, that is the biggest thing. Like, we're hoping that with this message, because, we wish we could talk to 1 million people, but we can't capacity-wise, unless we do a big arena, Madison Square Garden or something. So the best next way to do that is to create this book, and get it out to the world so people can have a guide, how to navigate that part of their journey in life, whatever that journey is, because we both have had different, yes, a common, work and values, but we have had our own journey through this. And I think it'd be so great and so exciting when I was reviewing it as well, is to see our own journeys, sharing those thoughts and just how exciting it's going to see two perspectives of this journey and writing beautifully in writing.
Yeah. So that is going to be exciting. We are in the final stretches of that, mostly, just in the editing phase and typography and design and things of that nature. But that is something that, next year we'll be able to put out for the world. And I think, to Mylene's point, when we started to think about how we can be intentional with touching the lives of others, recognizing that, there's only so many hours in the day and we can't be everywhere, which is a big part of why we launched this podcast as
Yes.
well, was just like another platform that we could use to provide, support and provide tips and really a safe space to be able to talk about business and talk about life and talk about finances, and really just create a space of, listen, we're all figuring it out. We don't have, all the answers, and what worked for me may not work for you, and that's okay, but just being aware of what other people are doing sometimes is really all the inspiration or all of the, exposure one might need. And so really just wanting to be intentional and thinking about, as the year is coming, I've been having more conversations with folks and really wanting people to not freak out about that, like don't put so much pressure on yourself to, go run out and come up with 10 goals and New Year's resolutions and thinking about all these things that, the commercials want you to think about. Go out and buy this, go out and get you another planner when you got 5 planners you didn't even use this past year. Not that and I mean, if you're a planner girly, I'm not, I mean,
But use it.
but use it, and if that's not your thing, don't feel like you need to buy that to fix something. I say that, with all love, but, just like understanding that your journey is your journey, and, what works for one person may not work for you, and that's okay. But you do have to spend the time figuring out what does work for you, and be very intentional and very disciplined and strategic about those disciplines and creating, those kinds of habits, and really also thinking about what do you need to invest to be able to, really do it in a way that, is the right way, because I do believe that you get what you invest in, and oftentimes I know it can be hard to invest because it's expensive to be able to create leverage, especially when you're building businesses or trying to reinvent yourself or starting to think about the what's next. And so the reality is it's not one set easy path. But if you can invest a little at a time, whether that's outsourcing for certain things, branding related, or if you feel like you want to do something different with your wardrobe next year, the holidays are coming. They're going to have to get rid of a lot of inventory of these stores, putting some money aside to go out and get you a couple pieces once those sales kick in. Or
When do they kick in, those sales for all of us? Is that January or?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of the stores right now, they have like their holiday store, but I feel like after the holidays is usually like when I feel like stuff gets way cheaper because whatever they didn't sell, they got to get rid of it. And so,
Note to self: go shopping after the 25th.
I always feel like after the 25th things, there is a period of time where prices do drop. But it just depends on what you're into. Now, I'm not talking about, if you're talking about Louis Vuitton and all that stuff,
They're not dropping.
Their price is going to stay the same. But, good pieces that you can buy that are quality material, those typically do go on sale.
Thank you. I made a note of that because, you talk about wardrobe. Like, I dress, okay? But I think it's always good to try to reinvent a little bit yourself and brand yourself a little bit differently. When I look at my early years, I don't know what I was doing. I'm grateful for the wisdom that has come with the growth, where I can, know a little bit more now. But, you mentioned planners, and for me, planners work if I use them.
Right.
So, like, I had so many planners in my life. I found a bunch that I had, like, stuck, that I used, but not fully. And I'm always looking at them. I'm like, oh, I could do this. And I'm like, that one day we're definitely going to come out with a planner that is going to be strategic for people like us, because you have like your electronic thing, like that works for your calendar. And you write a lot of things down, which is almost like, in your notebooks. So I'm wondering, like, when it's the time, first the book will come out, but then there's other things that are going to come out, because I find so much power for me in writing things down. It's just something, and it's all psychological too when you do the check mark, like the endorphins that happen with that. So in the last couple of days, I started to think, like, I have so much going on, being a new mom and figuring out that routine and trying to figure out how the child care is going to be, because I'm still doing that a lot solo. It's like, okay, so how do I create a routine that's helpful for me to accomplish all the goals that we have, the work, businesses, and also be an intentional mom. Because what I don't want is for Jaira to, even though he knows I love him, is to be so busy that I don't spend time with him. Which is why I'm grateful when I have to feed him or change him or anything or put him to sleep, that I have to stop anything I'm doing to do that. And that gives me time with him. So those moments I appreciate so much and are precious to me. But the other day, I really had to find my agenda or planner, and it has no dates, which I really like. Because when it has dates, I feel so shameful that I didn't use like a month or two of it, and that's just paper wasted. But now I'm like, oh, and I didn't think like that always. I always like, dated journals, or planners. But now having a non-dated agenda planner has been life-changing for me, because I maybe didn't use it for 3 weeks, but today I put the date and I clear my date. So I've been waking up about 4 in the morning, 3:30, depending what time Jaira wakes up for milk. And then I try to stay up. It's not always successful, but a couple of days this week it happened. And I said, okay, I'm going to look at all my calendars, and I'm going to put them down in my agenda, my planner, and just kind of see like, okay, what am I doing? And I started actually doing a couple of things. I'm like, what is it for me? So I put me. What is for Femergy, right? What is it for my work? What is for this? And that way I could see visually where all the needs were and what different pockets they were needed. And it was pretty incredible. I haven't been working out so much because I get all my steps by going after Jaira a lot. But I do find that even working out 30 minutes on the treadmill, it gives me energy, because I was feeling so drained at night. Like, how you go to bed at 9? I said, I couldn't understand the guys. Like, why does she go to bed at 9 when I'm like team no sleep? And then I had Jaira, my son. And now when I put him to bed at 9, 10, 11, whatever time we figured it out, I think I'm asleep before he's asleep, because I'm so exhausted from the day. Which I understand now, you have 3 kids, why you're so tired. But I just felt like by putting him to sleep and being tired, I was too tired and I couldn't figure out why I was too tired. And it was because I wasn't working out. So the 2 days that I was able to get on the treadmill and do I have a rule, it's either 30-minute walk or 1 mile. If I got a mile done in 15 minutes because I ran a little, I'm done for the day, right? So I try to get my mile in 15 minutes to save more time. And that gave me so much energy. Those 2 days, I tested. I said, I'm going to test this out because maybe it's me. But the moment I worked out, I had more energy at night. I wasn't as tired. And I think even my mood changed. It was a little more graceful, I think, that I was, I also started implementing in the mornings a 5-minute meditation prayer. I put my timer. And, people do an hour. So I don't have an hour right now. I have 5 minutes. And today I challenged it because I had so much to do, and I was like, yeah, and I was feeling a little erotic, and I was like, listen, like, you gotta sit down. And this is actually this is a message for you guys. The moments when you feel that there's so much to do and you don't have 5 minutes to sit down and breathe, that is when you gotta take the 5 minutes and breathe. Because today I said I have to sit down. It was like probably 6 in the morning, and I sat down in my living room. I put my little timer, and I just forced myself to close my eyes and do deep breathing. Because, women have heart attacks at a higher rate than anybody else. I said, no, I can't be so busy that I don't have 5 minutes to breathe and relax. So for the couple times this week, I did that. But today was the day that I was trying to convince myself not to do it because I had too much to do. And that's when I forced myself to do it, because I said, yeah, but you have to put you first today. Maybe you don't walk 30 minutes, but you're going to breathe for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that was helpful for me.
Wow. I love that. I love that you're getting back to a routine.
I'm trying.
Yeah. What do you think has been the biggest challenge with you being able to create your routine?
I think since I had Jaira, since my body mentally, I don't think it has fully snapped back. I don't know that I will ever be the same. I think it's forever has changed. But it is no longer, I wanted so bad to go back to the way I am, like so go, 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 and my body doesn't let me. And that is annoying to me. It's so annoying because I'm like, I want to do a million things, and my body's like, I need you to chill and do 5, or 10. And that to me, and it could be psychological, is unacceptable, but then you don't do nothing. So then you don't do the 10 because you're so overwhelmed that you cannot get the 100. So that has been some of the struggles. And then now that I have Jaira even more full time, it's just my mind, even though I may be doing something, I'm thinking about him, and like what is next. And I don't trust people with him. Like I have in my hand, I have a handful of people I trust with him, so just kind of getting through that. And I admire moms that, are able to do the things that they do. And I think for where I am, I'm doing a lot of great things. So I do have to take the moment and be like, you're doing a lot. You're not doing nothing. But I got the resources that I hope are gonna help me to get back to or create a new way, because there's no going back no more.
Right.
That's over. But it's creating a new way that is effective for me to do what we need to do, right? So like I have the program Help Me Grow for him now, so they're gonna help me with like his eating, because he's not eating full, solids yet. So I have to create a lot of the foods, purees, and then it just takes time. Like then you make a mess in the kitchen and you're cleaning up at 11 o'clock at night. So it's just a lot that has to go into manning him, caring for him. And it's not like I don't blame him, because I wanted him. I'm so happy for him. But I have to be realistic and knowing that it takes a lot of work to be a mom and a working mom, and then a single working mom.
Right.
And not having childcare fully yet. So like I was blessed today that someone is watching him for the few hours that we're doing the podcast, and I got to get help in advance, right? So I'm like, all right, on this day we have this, on this day we have that. Who can watch him that I trust? And I'm going to be able to know that even if my phone is off, because whatever, that he's safe.
Right.
That's a big thing. I never had to think about that before. My brain never had to think about that. I had a bird. I have a bird. Gabby survives on her own. She's great, but I have a child. So, and I don't know, like I think one of the things that I'm curious to know is what advice would you give me where I am now, based that you had 3 kiddos, and all of the stuff that you're doing too, because you are a big boss. Like you have a whole district that you oversee with challenging souls, and then you're running Femergy, right? We're co-running Femergy. You're working on yourself and many other things. What advice could you give me? Is there some that I could take? Maybe I'm missing something.
No. I don't have any magic advice for you. It's parenting is challenging. Out of all the, it's funny you say that, because yes, I lead a large district. I run a company. There's so much that I do in a day to day, but parenting is the hardest job.
It is,
and I think it's because there's no breaks. I mean, you might get a break here and there, if they go off with the, but even when your kids are with somebody else, you're thinking about, did they eat? Did they take a bath? What are they doing right now? And so one of the things about being a parent, you're locked into that for the rest of your life. Like the day-to-day changes, but the thought you have, how you just describe how your mindset is split, that never goes away. And, even as your kids get older, my oldest graduates from the Ohio State University this Sunday. She's my oldest. She's 21. And, even thinking about when I had her, and I was a teen mom with her. So literally, worked at McDonald's, her dad worked at the mall. And we had no resources. We didn't even have vehicles. We were walking, I was walking to and from places with her. And, so was her dad. He didn't have a car at that time. So like doctor's appointments and all those things, we had to figure it out, because I brought her home from the hospital. And then I moved out of my parents' house probably about 5 days later, and, moved in with her dad, and, and that was it, and so, I had help on occasion, but not real help, not consistent help. And luckily, her dad really kind of, he kind of got the whole parenting thing a lot faster than I did. And then went on to obviously have two additional children, so 21, 15, and 11. And, all three of them are different individuals who require different needs. And, two of my kids, well, all three of them have different medical needs on top of that. So, on top of just trying to navigate the day to day, I have one that has a lifelong illness. I have one who has, some challenges developmentally, and then one that has some additional social emotional challenges. And so, I think with parenting, you never have it quite figured out, but you just become more and more in tune with going with your gut. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that I didn't learn right away. I learned that probably by the time I had more so my second child. And so, you just learn to go with your gut on things where it's like, today might need to be a day that I'm not going to work. I'm going to have to be here and I'm going to have to see what's going on. Or I'm going to have to take this one to the doctors or to the hospital, or I'm going to have to pop up at their school. And then there are days where you're like, you know what, I have to trust my village. You can't, you can't do this by yourself. Parenting, even though I know a lot of people who are single parents and they do end up having to do a lot of things by themselves, but being able to create a village that you trust, you also have to be able to lean on that village, because it is challenging to be able to raise a child, to work, to have some level of a social life to where you are replenishing yourself. And so that is a process. And certainly I feel like there are days where you might be really great in one space and failing in another. And there's nothing you can really do about it, but just learn from it and grow from it. And, my nine, you know me, I've always been very strict about my schedule in years past. And I've been blessed to be strict about my schedule, I think, until I really became an entrepreneur. And, by the grace of God, I've had a very supportive husband over the years. And so, being able to take my kids to school and being able to have that time with them, even though it's not like this magical thing every morning, for me, that is my dedicated time that I'm checking in with them before they go to school. So it's like, okay, what happened today, or what happened yesterday? Because I was probably in a meeting and I didn't get to see them before they went to bed. And so over the years, we've built so many businesses, and there've been a lot of evenings I haven't been home to see them before they went to sleep, because I was out doing a deal or, meeting or networking or at a meeting. And so, I think you just have to be at peace with that sometimes. It's not going to always look the way that you might have saw it on TV.
100% not.
It's not going to look like that,
Yeah.
Because as much as I love them and I love being their mother, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, because they are my biggest accomplishment, and I love the three of them. But there are things that I've always desired to accomplish and to do. So I knew that I didn't want my whole life to stop because I was a mother. And I know that might sound selfish to a degree, where some people are like, well, your children should be your everything. They are my priority.
Yeah.
And there's a difference for me in recognizing that I was never going to be able to just 100% give up having a career to 100% be in motherhood. And I know some people choose that, and I think that has to be something you genuinely want to do. And I know some people have to do it because of financial reasons or because they don't have alternatives. But it's always been my desire to be their mother and to also do the things that God has allowed me to do in terms of having businesses and going out and leading in different spaces. So for me, I try not to complain about the two worlds, because that's truly what I've always wanted, if that makes sense. So it's like, can't complain that you got to work 10, 15 hours if the reality is you got to work 10, 15 hours. That's what your heart desires. And that for me is what my heart, so many people desire to be mothers, to be fathers. and that's their thing. And I think that's beautiful. I've met a lot of people along the way where it's like, that's all I've ever wanted to be was, a mother, and to be able to raise my children and to be at every PTA and to, to do all those things. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But I think I can do that for a certain amount of hours a day. But I've always, at one point when I thought that was going to be like my entire day to day, I found myself specifically with my oldest at that period of my life, just because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, man, this can't be it. Like, I can't just be in this house all day long, like cleaning.
You were young too.
Yeah, because all my friends left for college. They all had all my friends were gone, and I was just in the house caring for this baby. And I was just like, I had like a little part-time job. I just remember thinking to myself, like, this just can't be it. And, and it wasn't anything wrong with that. It just wasn't what it, for me, it just didn't work out.
It didn't feel like that was your vision for your life.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like I knew I wanted to do more. Like, I wanted to be her mother, and I also wanted to be able to go out and impact and do other things. And so it's never easy. And I think, I'm blessed because I've always had very active, fathers. And so, they've had their quirks about them, but I've never had to completely do it alone in terms of financial or support. So I know my situation looks a little bit different than some, but I think it's just, you have to be able to know when you're in one space, you're in one space. And when you're in another, try to be in that space. And your kid is young, like Jaira's still a baby. So I think it's just going into motherhood for the first time. It's just
only time.
It's a transition. And so you got to give yourself grace and give yourself time to figure out your new normal. Because like you said, you're not going back to anything. As much as you want to, or you thought you might, just
not right back.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, at least not for now. Like, I think that once he gets older and becomes a little more independent and he's in school full time, then you got 6 or 7 hours where he's in a safe space and you can go out and make moves. But right now it's just like, this is that pre-work to get you to that, to that phase.
Yes. I remember a term. Well, first of all, thank you. You did have things to share. I just want to bring that out. I heard the term harmony, and it wasn't balance, because they said that balance doesn't really exist. Like, you cannot have that. Like, it's more like you said, harmony when it comes to, if I'm here, I'm here, right? And if I'm with him, I'm with him. So I want to be present in whatever space I'm in, because then otherwise, then you don't give your best, and then you don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying that part of, if I'm here, I'm here. And when I'm with him, I'm with him. And then sometimes I'm with him and I'm doing other things because I have to.
Yeah.
It's just a part of that, and all being okay with that. And I feel like as much as I give him all the love, and I see how much he loves me, like, we're on the right path, Like, I don't feel like he ever feels like he's not loved. And that's my biggest thing. Whatever ever happens, I want Jaira to know that he's loved and he's cared for. And I feel like so far I'm doing a great job. This child is spoiled and loved, okay? And then now I think, to your point, it's just being even more intentional, because I never just wanted to be a housewife. Like, I saw that growing up, and it wasn't a good it wasn't a good experience that I saw. So I never intended that for my life either. So as we're growing and we're doing things, I do see for my life where I could be a great mother and a great businesswoman, and and create the impact that we're doing, that we have been able to do it. I saw you do it, so I know it's possible. I just have to continue to hold myself accountable to do the things. Like, that's why I got into my fitness quickly after I had Jaira, because I was like, I cannot be 5 years later blaming Jaira for my body being a certain way. Like, I have to work and get healthy, not just because my body will look amazing, but because of me mentally.
Yeah.
I had to mentally be good, right? So that's why I put that as a priority. And then now that I'm there, then it's like, then the other things come up, because not everything can be a priority. And that's the thing for my brain sometimes to capture. is you can have a lot of priorities, but they're all not going to be done at the same time.
Right.
So now it's like, okay, we got that. Okay, I got the health under control. Now let's get the other projects, like you said, that we have to get done. So that's where I am now. Like, okay, I got the health. Now I got, like, I'm getting somewhere with Jaira, and I got some resources. And then now, okay, now let's look at what projects, like what you said, we have had for a couple of years that and I even look at my notes. There's more.
Yeah.
And I was like,
there's
oh
so
my,
much
all of
more.
these great things have to come to birth. You know?
Yeah, because it's already, if you think about, it's already been a decade officially, in certain spheres of our business, plans. And, that it's just, even in itself, went by so fast, and so just thinking about, but you said it earlier, it's, everything can't be a priority. And I think it's, it is about prioritization and what really matters right now in this season. And, as much as we want to continue to build at the momentum we've been building. And I think that's where it's great that we have a partnership, because it's like, right now I know you can't make the kind of moves we used to make. And so it's, for me, it's also a reminder for myself. It's like, okay, but I can. So let me get the book moving.
Let me hold us accountable.
Let's get it done, because
Right.
my kids are in school, so it's just like we both can't be on
Stuck.
maternity leave.
Forever.
So it's that balance of like, when you can, then you tap in, and I know that. And so I try not to burden you with things unless it's like, all right, we gotta get this done, but I think that's where being able to build a village, build a group of individuals to help hold you accountable. Not that we gotta check off everything off of our list for next year, but if there are one or two areas that I know that, okay, I can drive this ship, and then she can get on, she can get on. I think that in itself is where I had to start to switch my mindset. It's like, okay, I got this going on, because I've also had things that have taken a lot of my attention this year. But in recognizing that, I'm like, this is not a priority for me forever. So I know that. Let me start scaling back in this particular bucket so that I can make room for what is a priority.
Okay.
And so, so being able to take some time to evaluate what you deem as a priority, I think is the first step, because everything can't be a priority.
Right. Not for right now.
Not for right now,
Yeah.
because your kids are only young for so long,
Yeah.
and realizing that there are certain seasons that, I'm never going to get back, because they are so much older now, 21, 15, and 11, and I felt that this year, even with the holidays, like getting them to decorate or to even get into, that mode of like Christmas is coming. It's a completely different vibe. Like right now, Dalton had asked me this when I got here. He said, did you get your Christmas list yet? Because, typically my kids create Christmas lists, and I actually haven't. Like, they've talked about it, but, which is probably something very, very American first world problems. But,
Yes.
but for them, they used to be so excited that this time of the year was coming, and it's kind of like, oh, Christmas is coming, which is also like an indicator for me. It's like, wow, like it's no longer, what it used to be for them, so just little things
They're
like
growing.
that. They're growing.
Did you do Elf this year?
He hasn't arrived yet.
Okay.
He's still looking for our house, is what
Okay.
so I didn't know if he wanted Elf this year, because I'm like, he's 11. So part of me has been questioning if he is still believing that Elf was real. So he did mention it like a week ago, because he heard my nephew say something about his elf, and then he asked me about it, and so I was just kind of like, and so I've been debating doing it, but he only asked me about it the one time, and so, but like even that, by now he would have been blowing me down, like, where's Elfie? So it's just little things like that where I've noticed, when we put the tree up, they was just kind of like, it's like, you don't want to decorate the tree. So I told Ken, I was like, Christmas is canceled. Like, nobody cares. And Ken's like, we care. I'm like, no, you guys don't care. But it's just a different season. They're not little anymore. They're not going to bed all. I mean, I still get their pajamas already arrived. And so I'll forever do that, even when they're grown and gone. But those are the things that, you have to be able. It's not enough to want to build all these things and then not to experience your life. And I think I'm grateful that I didn't get that as much with the first child, but I do believe I've gotten that with the second and my third. I've been able to experience more of my family, even in the season of growing the companies and the things that we've been able to do together. And I think that's because I have been able to really clearly define, okay, now I'm home and I'm going to chill with them, or I'm going to, whatever the case may be, or okay, I'm at work and I need to be able to really focus and give my all to these positions that I hold very, dear to my heart because they are important positions. But really being able to be present when I'm in certain, certain times of the day, not feeling like, okay, like I'm not at home thinking about work and I'm not at work thinking about home. If that makes sense.
It does. And I think that's the key for people and it's whatever people want to do. Like if you want to be a stay-at-home mom and that makes you happy, I say do it and don't worry about what people think. But if you want to do both, you can do both. If you just want to do business and you don't want to have a family because that's not your thing right now, or ever, that's also okay. And I just want people to come to the space where they choose what they want to do. And if they happen to be in a situation where they didn't choose, but they're in a situation, then how to get the village, right? Like we talked about, to help you in that. Because I remember one lady, she said this to me and that had never left me. She's a doctor and she became a mother. And now I understand her. I couldn't comprehend what she was saying to me, even though I thought it was a sad statement. She said, I wish I had found you ladies, right? Femergy, when I was a new mom, because I didn't know how to do doctor that I love and being a mom. So I had to let go of the doctor. So she literally could not, it was not comprehensible to her that she could do both. And that was so sad to me because I'm like, wow, you work so hard to be a doctor, but you become a mom and you don't think of, you didn't have the village. Or I don't know her personal situation at the time. And she was married, I believe. And, she told me, I just didn't know I could do both, And this is a professional, like a true person that, is intelligent.
Yeah.
And when she said that, my heart got so sad because I'm like, oh, and then now that I'm a mom and I'm doing all those things, I'm like, yeah, it is difficult. And if you didn't have the people around me, like to really like show me that it's possible, I don't think that I would have thought it was possible if I didn't have this mindset that I have, because it seems so challenging. But it's doable. So if you are in that space where you're struggling with it, like, we're happy to chat with you. Christina has 3. I just have 1, okay? And I'm new to this, and I'm learning so much. And I don't care how many books and things I read. Nothing prepares you for it fully. But I truly believe that you can do what you want to do. And if you just have the support or the mentorship, the guidance, the coaching, whatever it is, that you can truly do it. You can do both and just have to pick what your priorities are for that day or for that hour. Like my priorities almost change by hour. Like the hour he has to eat, that's a priority. I could have a meeting, but he has to eat. So it could be a camera off situation and I could be in the meeting, but I'm not going to be in my face in the meeting because I have to feed him, right? So, and that's the time that he wants to eat. Remember, I don't care what routine you have. Sometimes the time changes. So sometimes your priority could change by the hour, and you just have to figure out how to have grace with yourself to pivot and do what you need to do to make sure that your priorities are being taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you mentioned earlier too is so critically important, that you are creating a new routine, a new lifestyle, and I think oftentimes it can feel very overwhelming if you're still trying to go back to something you had before. And whether that's having a child or caring for a parent, an aging family member, caregivers, like people who are just responsible for others, chasing something you once had when you've been given something so new is the biggest kind of roadblock and really being able to move forward. And so I think that, that's also just an acceptance you have to have. And it's not a bad thing. It's just the reality of your present situation. And I think, having grace with yourself and saying, listen, I'm creating my new normal and I'm not really sure what it's going to look like. And it's going to look different today and tomorrow and the week after, but you still have to create something. Yeah. You can't just be freely, all right, every day we're going to wing it. Like,
no, that doesn't work well. I can tell you right now, that works horribly. But if you are, like, to your point, I think, and it's just being okay with trying things, because I have tried a few things and they haven't worked. And I said, okay, so obviously that is not the move, right? We're going to try a different thing. And I think just trying, like, not being afraid to try different things, you know, to be able, like, when I first gave birth, I was so stuck in my body. Like, my body wasn't moving like way it needed to move. So I went on, actually on Instagram, I saw a post from another mother that had just, you know, having a child. And she mentioned she was working out with this group of women. So I was like, maybe I just need a group of women to work out with. Literally went to this place. I didn't really talk. I just wanted to start having my body to move because it wasn't moving at the speed, right? And, you know, I know your body changes, but that, you know, helped me so much just to get my body back, just by being in a group and just, you know, doing the movements and things. And from where I started, that I was so, like, immovable almost. So, like, then being more flexible, and that was really helpful.
Yeah.
And that was really an Instagram post that motivated me to go and work out with other women.
Yeah, building that community. And even if it's just like a 1 day a week, 1 hour a week,
Yes.
like, it's not something you have to, you know, don't overthink. Don't feel like you got to create all these new things and sign up for all these classes and put your baby in this and put your baby, like, don't do that to yourself.
Don't overdo it.
Don't overdo it. Just, you know, that could be 1 hour a week, you know, whatever you have capacity for. Really think about what is your capacity and being okay with saying yes, no, and really, you know, once you identify what those priority areas are, thinking about, okay, what do I need in order to attack those priorities? Is it, you know, a fitness group? Is it, you know, a mom's group? Is it, you know, and if one doesn't exist and you got the capacity, create one. You know, I think that's the biggest thing too. If you can't find your tribe, create your tribe. And so I think just being able to spend the time, figure out what are your priorities, what do you need to actively support those priorities, and then creating a discipline so that you're actively working the plan. It's no different than working any other plan. You got to have a plan for your everyday life. And even if you have to pivot and certain things don't happen, that's fine.
Yeah.
But just thinking about how am I intentionally creating strategy for my everyday. And I think that truly is something that helps us all, you know, knowing that 3 days out of the week, I'm going to be at the office, you know? And so Mondays and Fridays, that does help me more because then I know, okay, I'm going to be home when the kids get out of school or whatever the case may be. So I think just really being able to think about your schedule and, you know, for those listening, as you're thinking about your schedule and how do you create more opportunities to be more present with your family or be more present, you know, while working, you know, just think about what's working and what's not working and what are you ultimately saying is a priority, and do your actions align with that.
Yeah. Because your actions will show what your priorities are.
Right. And your bank account.
Oh, Lord. That too. That's a whole different segment. That would be like in the new year. We'll do that one then. Because then the new year will show us what the priorities were for a lot of people in December.
Right. No, really.
We'll take inventory then.
Because you look at how you spend your money, and I'm not talking about like the necessities, like paying your mortgage, your food, your gas. Those are fixed items. What are you spending your money on things that are not fixed? And because that tells you what you prioritize. You can't say like, I don't have money to go, you know, buy new clothes, or I can't work out. And then you look at all your transactions and you got a coffee shop, a cafe, you know, like those are certain McDonald's, you know, like, and I mean, but if you're saying that's your priority, then that's your priority. But really looking at where are you spending the $5 and $6, you know, every other day, you got to make sure that all aligns. And some days it might not, but ultimately those are things that if you're saying your health is a priority, how much are you investing in your health?
Yeah, or outside of your health.
Right. Are you investing in things that are not contributing to the healthy lifestyle you want to live? So anyways,
this is good.
This is great. So, well, thank you all for listening. If you have suggestions on what you're doing to prepare for, you know, this season of your life, any tips or anything that resonated with you, any tips for Maylin as a new first-time mom. I'm a little out the game, so our new moms, please comment below, share some tips with Maylin. If you're interested in having a virtual mom check-in, maybe that would be something, Maylin, you can kick off when you get some free time.
Yes. I'll put that one on priorities.
Yeah, there you go.
For the new year, checking in with moms, where we just need a little support.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you once again for tuning in, and make sure you like, share, subscribe. And we are streaming on all major platforms and or on YouTube. So thank you for tuning in. And as always, it's bigger than you.
Thank you so much for listening today. We're excited, and we hope that you follow us on
Instagram, True Print for Life, YouTube channel, also True Print for Life. And make sure that you share, like, watch our videos. Make sure that you follow us on all streaming platforms.